Like, comment, and subscribe to J New Orleans.
Welcome to another episode of Men with Microphones. I didn't come up with a title yet for the video, but the patterns we inherit, there are patterns in society that we keep pretending are accidents in families, neighborhoods, cities, poverty, education, crime, relationships, who gets protected, who gets blamed, and who gets used and who gets ignored. And before anyone gets defensive, this is not about looking down on poor people because I'm poor. Poverty has been forced on people throughout history. Systems have been built to trap people, exclude people, underpay people, miseducate people, criminalize, and then blame them for being trapped. But we also have to tell the other side of the truth. There are forms of poverty that are forced, and there are forms of poverty that are self maintained. There's poverty caused by oppression, discrimination, bad schools, predatory companies, broken families, medical emergencies, job loss, legal traps, and generational theft. But there is also poverty maintained by pride, denial, ignorance, big ignorance, drama addiction, bad choices, emotional immaturity, refusing education, idol worship, humongous idol worship, reckless spending, monumental reckless spending, untreated trauma, and the inability to face one's own flaws. Two things can be true at the same time. A person can be hurt by the system and still be responsible for how they respond to that hurt. A community can be neglected by outsiders and still be responsible for what it normalizes on the inside. A person can come from scarcity and or scarcity and still have to eventually ask, am I surviving my environment or am I repeating it? That is where this conversation begins because society is not just falling apart because of politicians, celebrities, corporations, or other group. Society is also declining because people, like regular people, keep choosing comfort over correction, drama over discipline, attention over education, and loyalty over the truth. Poverty forced, learned, and self maintained. What would you do if your son was at home crying all alone on the bedroom floor because he's hungry? And the only way to feed him is to sleep with a man for a little bit of money and his dad is gone. I could even keep a straight face for that one. Anyways, throughout history, there have always been wealthy people, some because wealthy through skill, invention, land, strategy, discipline, and organization, others because wealth came through theft, slavery, exploitation, war, corruption, manipulation, and inheritance from systems that were never fair to begin with. And the crazy part about it, because I'm referencing the past with both of those, but both of those are very active in the present, especially through exploitation, corruption, and manipulation, and definitely war. So we have to be careful not to worship wealth like every rich person earned it cleanly. But we also have to be careful not to romanticize struggle like poverty automatically makes someone wise, moral, or innocent, or respect a person that is deserving of honor or respect, or like if they deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. Poverty can create resilience, but it can also create desperation. But poverty can create empathy, but it also can create envy. It can create resourcefulness, but it can also create a mindset where every dollar is treated like a lottery ticket instead of a tool. For example, like people gambling their money like it's gonna come back, as far as, oh, I get paid again next week, but you use energy at the job or whatever you do to get money, and the same money that you put all that work into getting, you just gave it away to people who already rich. Some people are poor because they were robbed, because they're trapped, because they were never taught. They were taught the wrong things. And some are poor because every time they get a chance to change, they choose the habits that keep them stuck. That is not an insult, that is a diagnosis. But if the roof is leaking, you cannot fix it by calling the rain disrespectful. The irony in that is that it actually started raining a few hours ago. And that's why I would have did this video earlier, which it don't matter to none of y'all. I don't even know, by the time people actually start watching my videos to the end, it's probably gonna be way later. I might not even be doing YouTube no more. But yeah, it started raining out here, and I didn't do the recording because of they had thunder right outside, lightning outside my door, allegedly. Because if the roof is leaking, you cannot fix it by calling the rain disrespectful. At some point, someone has to get a ladder, find the hole, and patch what is broken. And then education was once fought for, now it is avoided. Trying to get the hang of them sound effects. I know that I'm gonna get cussed out in the comments whenever I do get comments, because I notice on other people videos they complain about sound effects, music, everything. Throw the whole channel away. One of the strangest things about modern society is how hard people fought for education, only for so many people today to treat education like it is punishment. For much of history, knowledge was power because it allowed people to read contracts, understand law, question authority, build wealth, record history, and organize communities. That is why enslaved people were often kept from education. Education was dangerous to oppressors because a person who can read can also compare, question, document, calculate, and resist. People once risked punishment to learn how to read. Today, some people have a library card, a phone, a free course, free audiobooks, financial education for free, free legal information, public records, and tutorials sitting in their pocket. The internet, YouTube, social media. That's why, excuse me, that's why now people excuses, they're gonna have to get better excuses. I don't feel any ways about what people don't know. But if it's there to know and it's to your benefit to learn it and you choose not to, I can't tell you how your life should go. Maybe you want to do that, because one thing I have learned in life is that everyone who claims they have goals don't really have those goals as goals. Or everyone who claims they're a certain kind of person or they don't rock with certain kind of people is not always true. It's like the people you see, if you and them single at the same time and y'all talk about the different things y'all feel about relationships, and they the mimicking people that swear they agree with everything that you say, but when you watch their history go on, you see that they dealing with the same type of people that y'all made fun of, or people who make fun of other people for being bad parents or not taking care of their children only for them to be neglecting themselves. So you can't always take people seriously. And ignorance has a subscription fee. It charges you through bad contracts, bad relationship, bad credit, bad leases, bad jobs, bad spending, health choices, and legal decisions. And when the bill comes due, is up to you. And not to mention, when it comes to legal, if I wasn't in a comfortable position right now to not feel like having to get my keyboard, I would look up the exact stats. But just imagine how many people are in jail and they have heavier sentences because they took the plea deal because they didn't know how to read, or they were uneducated on what their rights were, or they were able to be intimidated because with prosecutors are the salesmen of the legal system. They're not trying to adjudicate guilt from you or nothing like that. They are, I probably use that word all wrong too, but they more so trying to get a conviction. That's their sales goal, conviction. So they'll tell a defendant anything, even sometimes when they don't have evidence. And so many people have fell prey to that and signed away different things, because sometimes when you sign in different legal paperwork, you forfeit rights. Like it might, you might sign for probation, but then it says if you get arrested, if your probation is violated, you have no rights to an appeal and you got to do the rest of the time that you signed up for. So if you signed up for 6 months and you get arrested the first month, you're going to go back to jail for 5 months. Or if you sign for 5 years, do the math. And how education helps societies decline. Historians have warned us that societies do not only collapse from invasion, and that's an insult because, again, people don't care about history. The only history people know is the repeat history the news segments say whenever they celebrate a particular day or a particular event. They collapse from within. They collapse when people lose trust. They collapse when citizens become too distracted to protect their own interests. They collapse when corruption becomes normal. They collapse when entertainment replaces civic duty. Entertainment really has taken over so many people's lives to where there are people able to simultaneously keep up with over 20 different TV shows, every single movie, every single celebrity event, sports events, just everything. And there's none of that does anything for your life. And it's not, it's meant to entertain you, but life is not meant to be entertaining all of the time. Like if it wasn't for modern day technology, we would not be this comfortable. Like this is probably the first time in known history that society as a whole, you even have people who are less fortunate, but they have cell phones and they curled up somewhere just on their phone all day. Not to mention, it's so easy to control people with the cell phone because they instantly bought up all of the influencers. And at one point in social media, influencers was rogue agents. They were doing their own thing. But once media saw how important influencers were, every anybody who want a input in the world has influences that they back in, and a lot of the times y'all won't even know because they won't have sponsored ads for CIA agents. But let me quit while I'm ahead. They collapse when people become too emotionally immature to discuss problems without needing an enemy. The Roman Empire did not fall because of one bad day. It declined through a mixture of political corruption, economic stress, military pressure, inequality, weakened civic duty, and internal instability. That sounds so familiar. I want, Anyways, the same pattern appears across history when people stop valuing knowledge, discipline, responsibility, and public trust. The society becomes easier to manipulate. An educated population an uneducated population is easier to divide. An emotionally immature population is easier to provoke. A financially desperate population is easier to sell dreams to. That sounds real familiar too. Dang. Coachella, Disney World, Carnival Cruise, a distracted population is easier to rob, and a population addicted to drama will often clap while the building is burning as long as the fire has good lighting. And they probably will throw up a spit and put some kebabs and some pork ribs on there because they seen at the grocery store they had pork ribs, a whole rack for $3. When feelings replace principles, no, we gonna take each slide at a time because I actually be composing this. That's the fire from the thing exploding. She's crying. One of the most dangerous things in society is when people play favorites based on feelings instead of principles. Before I finish this segment, it's a lot of people that this applies to. I literally don't have anyone in mind directly. So for my emotionally wild viewers, if I ever get those, just listen. This is not about you. I don't know you. People will know someone is harmful and still support them because they like them. They will know someone is dishonest and still defend them because they are entertaining. They will know someone has hurt multiple people and still say, well, they never did anything to me. Then one day that same person harms them and suddenly they are shocked. But they were not shocked when the warning signs were aimed at other people. They were not shocked when the victims were strangers or when the evidence was inconvenient. They were only shocked when the harm became personal. This is why emotional maturity matters. A mature person does not wait until the snake bites their ankle to admit that the snake has teeth. A mature person can say, I like this person, but what they did was wrong. An immature person says, I like this person, so I will bend reality until wrong looks acceptable. That is how families protect abusers, communities protect scammers, fans protect predators, yikes, companies protect executives, definitely. Society trains harm to become confident. And next section, common good versus common enemy. No sound effects needed. I'm gonna just smooth back just in case. I don't know how they be with the cop, with the them having weapons, even if they are toys. Emotionally and intellectually mature people know how to come together for a common good. They can build schools, businesses, families, neighborhoods, systems, safety, accountability, and opportunity. But emotionally immature and ignorant people are often only know how to come together for a common enemy. They do not unite to build, they unite to attack. They do not organize around principles, they organize around resentment. They do not ask what can we create, they ask who can we blame. That is why some groups can form a mob faster than they can form a plan. They can spread a rumor faster than they can spread a resource. They can organize a boycott faster than they can organize a budget. They can defend a celebrity faster than they can defend their own neighborhood. And they probably put trash out the day after trash day, like the people around here. And the sad part is, many of these people are not powerless. They are unorganized, not lacking ability, lacking direction. They're without resources, and they're without discipline. Next chapter: hypocrisy, group loyalty, and the do as I say culture. Hypocrisy is everywhere among the ignorant and immature because hypocrisy allows people to avoid the burden of consistency. A group can scream about being hated by outsiders while spewing hate at insiders who do not conform. They can demand respect while disrespecting anyone who questions the group. They can claim to value freedom to freedom while punishing independent thought. A group can say, do not stereotype us, and then stereotype everyone else. That is the do as I say, not as I do culture, and is not limited to one race, religion, gender, political side, economic class, or generation. It is human behavior without self awareness. People love principles when principles protect them. They don't even know how to spell principles, but many abandon these same principles when the same principles protect someone they dislike. That is not morality, that is favoritism wearing church clothes. Favoritism in a bad wig, really. And that that type of situation is always called out by people, but unfortunately they be fitting the mold as well. I believe that when you get to a point where you telling other people what they should and shouldn't do, or when you're pushing an image, the least you could do is actually have some type of real estate that in that area versus, because for me, I can't see me talking about stuff that I don't have no connection to or I don't live by, because if I don't live by it, I obviously don't agree with it, because if I agree with it, I would live by it. And selling that to other people, that's just such a strange thing to do, but I've seen less from more, and people will do anything for money. That's all it is. And then some people will do anything for the attention, and they give money to get attention, and they think getting money is going to give them all of the power that they see other people with money have. But the part they miss is the maintenance of the wealth itself. For those people that they see that's gotten away with doing things for decades, those people maintain their wealth for the most part. And even some of them that didn't. I mean, honestly, it ain't even no comparison when it comes to the life that we want to live, because we can be given the same opportunities or the same misfortunes as the person next to us, and our life's still gonna end up different. Like, that's not a anyways. The gender wars and the monolith trap. And that's somewhere right now, someone is writing a comment contributing to gender wars, or posting content contributing to gender wars, which is so funny because it's peak immaturity. Because as adults, our goal should be to be connected to not as many people, but when we're connecting to people, we should be focused on connecting to safe, understanding, and people with best interests and with common best interests. Yet we fight online as a social media society as if the state of the world is not in the hands of the people that control our governments, or the state of our neighborhood is not at the hands of parents and people who vote the people in, and the people who actually are in the office themselves. And not to mention, majority there are people around the world who are living in places that's probably going to be underwater soon, and nobody's doing it. I don't even think people realize that. Like, it's some cities that's going to be gone in the next 20 years. But yeah, what do men and women bring to the table? Men get reduced to the worst men. A lot of them do be deserving that. I'm biased, but women get reduced to the worst women. A person gets hurt by one kind of partner and then turns that pain into a philosophy about an entire gender. Now everyone is a narcissist, a gold digger, dusty, dangerous, manipulative, the problem, except the person refusing to heal. Granted, I definitely watch content from both sides, because for me to be able to encourage people to do better, I can't be completely blind to what's going on actually. Otherwise, these videos will be me just talking about things that I saw 10 years ago that might not even be an issue anymore. So it's for research purposes. Everybody is the problem except the person refusing to heal. This is how pain becomes prejudice. And when pain becomes prejudice, people stop dating human beings and start dating stereotypes. They are no longer trying to understand the person in front of them. They are trying to win the argument with the person who hurt them years ago. That is not wisdom, that is trauma with a microphone. From what I've seen from some social media displays of relationship timelines is that people don't even see the person as a person. They see them as a list with things that are checked off. And then if some or all things are checked off, they just proceed forward from there and then wonder why they arguing or wonder why this happened, wonder why they happened. Like when things occur between these types of people in question, they position it as if it's just appearing, like the disagreement between you and your lover just appeared out of thin air. Like, so I have no clue. The blame game as an escape from growth. Blame can be useful when it identifies where the harm came from, but blame becomes dangerous when it becomes a hiding place. Some people blame the government, their parents, men, women, rich people, poor people, white people, black people, immigrants, the previous generation, the next generation. Sometimes blame is accurate, but even accurate blame can become a prison if it's never turned into responsibility. Like that's like your check engine light coming on and you aware that your vehicle only has so many miles before doom, and you just continue with it and keep saying, oh, the people at the dealership gave me a bad car, but you never do anything about it. And then when your car break down, these people that gave me a bad car, now I'm stuck on the side of the road, man. Because after you identify who hurt you, the next question is, what am I going to do with the life I still have? I don't think some people realize that they still have life ahead of them, but then they might be one of those people who do daily reckless behaviors that'll end it soon anyway. That question is terrifying because it removes the comfort of helplessness. It forces you to stop auditioning for sympathy and start applying for change. And that is where many people fold no laundry. Not because change is impossible, but because the old identity is familiar. Cities reflect generations of neglect. Our towns and cities reflect the neglect and ignorance of our generation. Broken streets, abandoned buildings, trash everywhere. Because where is the trash coming from? Like it doesn't just appear out of thin air as well. Schools struggling, families unstable, crime normalized, business leaving, people complaining about conditions they contribute to. Again, systems matter, policies matter, disinvestment matters, racism, classism, corruption matters, but culture also matters. A city is not only what politicians do, a city is also what residents tolerate. If generations normalize littering, violence, reckless driving, theft, public disrespect, educational neglect, and family chaos, then the city will eventually wear that neglect like a uniform. And we are all guilty somewhere. Maybe not equally guilty, but no one gets to live in society and pretend they never have contributed to its decline. Sometimes our contribution is action. Sometimes it's silence, enabling, laughing at what should have been corrected. Sometimes it's protecting someone because they are ours, even when they are harming everyone. New Orleans, they talking to you. Parenthood does not automatically mean healthy upbringing. Society has a dangerous assumption that every parent automatically loves their child in a healthy way. People say, that's still your mama, that's still your daddy, family, your family, blood thicker than water. You only get one, but biology is not character. A parent can be present and still be harmful. A parent can provide a roof and still destroy a child emotionally. A parent can say, I love you, and still model crime, chaos, neglect, addiction, abuse, manipulation, and emotional immaturity. There are public examples of parents committing crimes with their children. There are also families where crime is not an accident, it's a tradition. There are families multiple generations deep into violence, fraud, addiction, incarceration, instability, and broken homes. There's so many people out there, men and women, who have children who mimic what they did, and they laugh at it. Oh, he got buku kids just like I do. Ha 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 ha. She got four baby daddies like I do. Ha ha ha. Like weird. Then they had children, and the cycle continued. That is why we have to stop assuming the presence of parents equals positive upbringing. A parent's presence can be a blessing, but a parent's presence can also be the source of the wound. Not to mention, in a lot of these comment section, these are people parents. These people have kids. Some of these people are grandparents. Y'all don't like it's crazy. Another dangerous pattern is bending the law for idols. Celebrities, religious, political, community, family, street, and content creator idols. People will watch someone break the law, hurt people, steal, manipulate, lie, scam, abuse, or exploit others and still defend them because they like the image. But when someone outside their favorite group does the same thing, suddenly they want cancellation, prison, accountability, public humiliation. This is not justice. That is selective outrage. And selective outrage is one of the reasons harmful people keep getting stronger, because they learn that if they are entertaining enough, charismatic enough, attractive enough, rich enough, religious enough, popular enough, connected enough, people will excuse almost anything, unfortunately. Some content creators can get caught red handed stealing from their own communities and still have support. Woo! Some people show repeated patterns of harm and still get defended by the very people they're exploiting. And when the cognitive dissonance finally fades, many of those supporters may need counseling, not because they were simply wrong, but because they will have to sit in the fact that they helped protect the person who harmed others. That is a heavy mirror. They don't carry it, they leave it at the airport. The illusion of chasing money. A lot of people say they're chasing money, but many are not chasing money. They're chasing the attention that money can buy. Attention hungry horrors. They do not want financial freedom. They want visible proof that they are not who they used to be. They want the outfit, car, club section, bottle, which is so crazy because all a club is just a rented space with furniture in there and music and sometimes special guests. And then they just charge you like you can have a club outside your own house. Bottle, jewelry, designer bag, phone, vacation photo, look at me now moment. But if the money is only used to perform success, then it is not wealth. It is theater, and you're an actor or actress. And theater has a production cost. This is how people become hood rich, close enough to wealth to imitate it, far enough from wealth to be consumed by it. They buy from brands that see them as buying power, not as people. They defend celebrities who would never defend them. They fund influencers who manipulate them. They pay subscriptions they do not need, then complain that companies keep raising prices. But companies will never stop raising prices. That is what companies do when customers keep proving they will complain and still pay. Resourceful people learn to create alternatives, negotiate, cancel, substitute, or separate from the business. Unresourceful people complain, pay, and repeat. And to add to that is it's crazy to think that you born poor, you barely know when you're going to eat, you scraping by for money. Maybe you're in the 90s and you find change on the ground a lot because people were too rich for change. And then that whole time, the little help you receive, maybe government assistance. Every now and then you have celebrities that give out turkeys on Thanksgiving, even though they write it off on their taxes. And maybe you have 211 and all of the resources I'm gonna give you at the end of this video. But then you get money and you go to stores that never thought about you in your poverty. You go to places that never put food on your table, and give them all of the money that you never had. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Opportunity is everywhere, but resourcefulness is rare. One uncomfortable truth is that people from other countries often come to America and thrive, not always because of shortcuts or always because of favoritism, but because of determination and appreciation for opportunity. They see resources that American born people often overlook. They see libraries, community colleges, trade schools, public programs, small business resources, free resources, public parks, legal clinics, food assistance, tax help, job training, and consumer protection. Meanwhile, some people born here are so used to access that they do not recognize opportunity unless it has a luxury logo on it. The public library alone is one of the most underrated resources in America. Many libraries give access to free books, audiobooks, movies, music, newspapers, research databases, job help, internet access, printing, classes, lots of classes, like all types of classes, cooking sometimes. They different cities have different things, and community events. Services like Libby offers free ebooks and audiobooks through thousands of public libraries, and Hoopla partners with libraries to provide free streaming and downloads for audiobooks, movies, music, ebooks, and comics where available. I showed that on the previous video. Which one? No clue. That means some people are paying for what they could access for free, then complaining about prices, then blaming the economy, then going back to the same subscription. That is not just poverty, that is a lack of resourcefulness. And look at all those closed doors that people have. And when people are in survival mode, instead of seeing all of these doors, their brain only sees the wallpaper. So to them, it just looks like nothing but wallpaper because that's why they tell you about the what we think. Because when you're in a negative mode, you're gonna walk in the room and see everything wrong in the room. But if you in a neutral mode, you're gonna walk in the room and see everything in the room. If you're in an optimistic mode, you're gonna walk in the room and see all of the beauty in the room only. Like neutral or optimistic should be where you are, and be realistic when it comes to people. But when it comes to your life, you should be more optimistic and be more active with optimism, not just optimism sitting on the couch, but optimism as you're at the bus stop, in the car, or whatever your mode of transportation, bird, bike, hike, pike, you never know. Many people, knowing your rights could change your life. Many people do not know their rights as consumers, employees, tenants, patients, or citizens. And because they do not know their rights, they endure situations that could have been complaints, settlements, lawsuits, refunds, investigations, or life changing accountability. Some people have been mistreated by landlords, underpaid by employers, discriminated against, scammed, harmed by medical or pharmacy errors, abused by businesses that count on them not knowing what to do. The US Department of Labor says workers can contact the wage and hour division about pay concerns included in the bio, but the number is 1-866, not bio, description of the video, 1-866-487-9243. And then HUD encourages people who believe their housing rights were violated to report housing discrimination promptly because filing deadlines can apply. The CFPB is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, accepts complaints involving products like credit reports, debt collection, mortgages, loans, credit cards, and bank accounts. The FTC's report fraud.gov is the federal site for reporting fraud, scams, and bad business practices. And yet, many people fold. They will argue with family for 10 years. They will talk about a friend's betrayal until the sun burns out. But when a corporation, landlord, employer, pharmacy, or institution harms them, suddenly they become forgiven. Slavery. Suddenly they become understanding. Suddenly they say, well, mistakes happen, but let a regular person wrong them. Now they're a prosecutor, historian, detective, judge, and documentary filmmaker. That inconsistent is not harmless, it's powerless. The psychology of folding. against institutions. I knew someone who was already a lifetime struggler. All their life they had to fight just to keep on the light. And they were given diabetic medication inside their high blood pressure prescription that could have been fatal if they had not paid attention, or if someone had administered the medication to them. The outcome could have been tragic, and yet they found an excuse for the pharmacy. But if a regular person wronged them, they would talk about it for years, and they actually do talk about people wronging them for years. This person still mentions things that happened in the 70s and 80s like if it happened yesterday, but can't never. That reminded me of something deeper. Businesses do not hesitate to protect themselves. Corporations do not hesitate to pursue civil action. Insurance companies do not hesitate. Landlords do not hesitate. Banks do not hesitate. Employers do not hesitate. But many struggling people hesitate to protect themselves. It's almost like an inherited bowing down, a psychological leftover from systems where people were trained to accept harm from authority and only direct anger sideways at people who look like them. That is dangerous, because if you only fight people on your level but excuse people above you, you become easy to exploit. And that's very prevalent at toxic work environments. Toxic work environments always have coworker to coworker beef, but it'll be a toxic manager or a toxic supervisor, or even maybe a toxic company CEO. But they're gonna go at each other. Or like offshore, it would be captains that should be reported, but rather than report the captain, they take out the anger on each other and dry snitch on each other, or try to throw each other under the bus. But the tension is really based off of what the captain is doing. It's like people really is PUSSY. Especially, like, it's always shocking to me because the biggest cats have the loudest, make the loudest noise. Like, if you're gonna be weak, like, just shut up and be weak. Like, why weak people always the loudest ones? This fan blowing on me is drying my mouth out. The degenerate starter pack. A lot of people are trying to live in two worlds. Oh, and also too with these corporations, they, like, I watch enough dash cam footage over the last few years to see they don't care how old you are. You going to jail if you miss a few items. And like this one dude, he was a manager on one video, and he stole $100,000 in like a few days, and he was currently stealing on his birthday, on his off day. They didn't say, "Hey, let's bring him home with a cake, and we're gonna pick him back up tomorrow." No, they took him to jail that day. Like, these people do not play about their money. They don't play about anything, and that's why they have it and you don't. For the people who fall into that trap, you can get out of it though. It's not a sticky trap. A lot of people are trying to live in two worlds. They want transformation, but they keep the habits of stagnation. They want success, but keep the degenerate starter pack, addiction, drama, reckless spending, rotating lovers, friends, constant disappointment, constant venting. Who? Them kind of people, baby. I love listening to people talk, and then you hear them say that. Never see me again. That shit is draining. Never will do that again. I feel like I paid my dues. I didn't listen to enough vetting for enough lifetimes. If the cell phone companies all got together and put my collective call hour time together of me hearing ungrateful and undeserving people vent about things they either created or things they were going to continue experiencing, man, look, I don't even trip about it though, because it's a learned lesson, and it saved me because like I mentioned previously, I'd rather have sacrificed a set amount of time to learn versus having to be a reoccurring student for the rest of my life, like a lot of people are to a lot of things. That's one thing about me. I get my one and done. I don't stop it or break it off or restart it. Like, when it come to life, people, jobs, everything, I let it get their little good one out of me. With a job, if I knew in the past, if I knew that I was moving around, I let them get their little, yeah, their little overtime, whatever, all the little extra stuff that they wanted while I was there. But bitch, I'm gone. And that's it. And even with people, especially known users, when I knew people who thought they was eating, like, let's have fun. Like, let's pretend we cool and let's go out and we're gonna have a good old time. We're gonna turn the club up, and then block you. Bye. I don't even have to argue with people because people feel like you need to tell people stuff. Why? You're not going to like why do I need to tell you? So you so slow that you don't realize you constantly doing this or you constantly ignoring that is rude, but you know everything wrong that other people do to you. Nah, we ain't playing that, little brother. Be blessed. In hell. Now, constant excuses, constant comparison, celebrity obsession, emotional emergencies, needing to help but rarely taking instructions, especially those people who will blow your phone up talking about it's an emergency and then they telling you about something that happened at their job. If you don't call the employee hotline number you want, anyways, they say they want a better life, but their approach never changes. And I notice too, people who that apply to, they always defend it. One thing about the internet, people always gonna show you when it applies to them. I've never seen a person go hard for something that they was not connected to. A lot of them will try to lie, but like on Twitter, shout out to when it was Twitter, a person will lie and say it don't apply to them, but then you go to their old tweets and you see it does indeed apply to them and their mama too. They want referrals to offshore jobs, education, programs, opportunities, connections, and resources. But for many, the request is only a performance. They want to say they asked, they want to say they tried, but there is no follow up, discipline, application, paperwork, sacrifice, or consistency. And here is the hard part: when you eventually stop helping, you become the villain. Even if you helped 10 times, gave resources, opened doors, sacrificed your own energy, to people stuck in repeat cycles, your boundary feels like betrayal because they experienced your help as access, not generosity. That is why growth requires discernment. Everyone who says thank you is not grateful. Facts. Some people are just relieved you gave them another chance to avoid accountability. Growth breaks silent arguments. Relationships built on stagnation, vices, mess, drama, loneliness, and survival often cannot survive growth because every connection has a silent agreement. That's why when people make friends, like they'll meet a coworker and then they'll say, we became friends at work, and then I let them move in with me. Y'all were not friends. Y'all shared a common goal at a particular time. You more than likely did not vet this person as a full person because when you meet people at work, you meet them in a persona. You don't meet the real them. You meet half of a real them because if it's like an office building or something, that's probably who they are, but they ain't showing you the full extent of who they are. A lot of these people in the streets who face y'all smiling, their houses is dirty, they neglecting, they abusive, they probably don't shower or bathe as often as they pretend. Like they living with roaches and rats and all kinds of other stuff. But in real life, acting sedity and giving other people issues and making other people life hard. Maybe the agreement is we complain together. Maybe the agreement is we drink together. We chase drama together. We hate the same people. We stay broke together. We normalize each other's dysfunction. Then one person starts growing. They stop drinking as much, stop gossiping as much, stop answering every crisis call, stop spending recklessly. They start reading, saving, healing, saying no. And no one knows how to say what change, but the nervous system knows. The old agreement has been broken. That is why growth often causes a huge life shift. You are leaving the valley and heading up the mountain. There is no way to be in both places at once. Leaving the valley for the mountain. The valley is nice. The valley is real nice, but it's like who I almost made this my wallpaper. I really like this picture. But who how like we can't talk if I'm on a mountain climbing, I need both hands. I can't talk to the people in the valley. And it's because I chose to go on the mountain. If the people in the valley chose to go in the ocean, I can't talk to them either. So same difference. It's not really a person leaving is a better or worse. And I mean, and in some instances, some people may do be in better positions or worse positions than other people. I don't understand why we always have to deflect the idea of no, everyone's not perfect. No one's better than each other. Okay, so what if somebody do feel that way? What does that have to do with you? As long as it ain't your parent or somebody who feeding you or somebody you rely on, what people think is their right to think. And people are always going to think stuff. And most of the stuff that people pretend that they think is not even what they really think. That's why always focusing on what people thinking is a waste of time because people are liars. Like there are a lot of lying and justifying and omitting and changing and all of this other stuff. All you can do is focus on the life you were born into. You could have been born anywhere in the world, but you was born where you were at the time you were born. Make the best of that. Like, and love is not a post-it note. People need to understand what love really is. Love is not a word you stamp on disappointment. Love is not a post-it note you can slap on neglect. It's not I care about you while constantly draining you. It is not I'm proud of you while secretly resenting your success. It is not family is family while refusing accountability. It is not you know my heart when your actions keep breaking people. Love must have behavior attached to it, support, correction, honesty, respect, accountability, joys for someone else's growth. Holly Berry, what the hallelujah? When I tell you, I've always given that to anyone I told I love to, and that is why when I leave, it is no bad blood. I'm gone. Please don't talk about me, which they will. Don't ever reach out to me years later thinking that this is no reunion show where you get all of the people from Christmas past and then they come on the couch and then you sit and rehash and talk about where you've been. No, because one thing about it, I've listened to a lot of I love yous, and they were always conditional, and that's very sad. But it was also my GPS based off of unhealed trauma that I had that was navigating me to these fake I love yous. It wasn't until I did the inner work, which therein fixed my GPS. I don't know if you ever had real GPS in real life give you bad directions. I had one time that kept having me do U-turns. Anyways, but the emotional GPS is a real thing. It's just not called that. The ability to be happy when someone escapes the same pit you are still standing in. If someone cannot be happy for your success, they may love your role in their life more than they love you as a person. And that is a painful truth, but it is still true. And they always tell you that when they make it about them, or when, it's so many signs. Everyone to each its own, allegedly. At some point, adults must become their own role models. The person you want to become should be who you look up to, not a celebrity, an influencer, a rapper, a guru, not a family member who never healed, not a content creator with enough charisma to hide their corruption. You need to look at the future version of yourself and ask, what would that person do today? Would they spend this money? Would they answer this call? Would they entertain this argument? Would they ignore this bill? Would they skip this opportunity? Would they skip this? Would they keep this friend? Would they keep dating this pattern? Would they keep blaming everybody while changing nothing? Every day is a chance to vote for the person you are becoming, and your habits are the ballot. Also, too, it would be funny. Like, don't ever think I'm a role model because be careful what you ask for. You can get a lot of insight and knowledge, but if you one of those people who find yourself venting about people in your life, if I became your role model, those people wouldn't exist anymore. So because that's very childish and musty. Like if I didn't have bills that came in my own name, I would be so receptive to the foolery of the world. But given that everything that I do impacts my quality of life, I'm not allowing people that negatively impact me around me or communication with me. And I don't have to diss them or throw subs or story times about recent friendship breakups or use them as negative examples. I only use them as growing opportunity examples and not even of thinking as the people as negative people because I could have left them where they were. I connected with them from the negative experiences in me. So, you know, I don't really see it as a bad thing. But once you realize there is a problem, I feel like you need to solve it. And that's something that I do with anything, not even just people. I don't believe in long-term problems. If the problem is long-term, that's because someone else is handling it. A court system, the weather, I don't know. Tina Fey, somebody handling it. That's not me. But if it's in my hands, it's going to get done. I've had too many times of procrastination earlier on in life that I don't play with procrastination no more. I feel like I've seen the negative impacts of it, and that actually may be a video one day tomorrow. Personal reflection, scarcity, spending, and change. For me, I grew up in a wild environment. I was promised things by everyone, godparents, which I had the worst godparents in history because everyone else I see who has godparents, they actually saw them. Anyways, aunts, uncles, family, people who said they would do this, help with that, show up here, buy that, support this. And many times it never happened, especially on Christmas. This Christmas wasn't a very special Christmas for me. I was on the right path, but I was forced in scarcity and disappointment. So eventually I got a job early because I got tired of waiting on middlemen. So my spending reflected that. Thankfully, I was more into technology, music, computers, games, software. I had over 56 CDs by 17 and I started collecting around 14. Then in my 20s, it shifted. Fast food, clubbing, alcohol, outfits for the club, a car, paying others people way, trying to be loyal, trying to be helpful, trying to be everything for everyone. And it was not until I faced my own habits that I was able to change them. And honestly, for all of those things I just listed, as far as fast food, clubbing, alcohol, everything else, if I was a normal person, I would just blame fast food because I didn't know how to cook, clubbing because I didn't have anything else to do, alcohol because I have childhood trauma, outfits for the club because I have to look nice for my friends. You know, I could, but nah, they want the new life, and that is the part that many people avoid. They want the reward of change without the confrontation of self. They want the new life without admitting the old pattern. They, but you can't heal what you keep romanticizing. That's why I'm always grossed out when people have like really toxic behaviors and they make they romanticize it like it's cool, especially when it comes to violence towards innocent people. You cannot build on a burning building, but you can make s'mores. Many people never reach their goals because they do not face their flaws and fears. They think they can build on top of a burning building, but in reality, sometimes you have to tear the structure down and pour a new foundation. That means admitting I was wrong, wasteful, immature, loyal to people who are not loyal to me. Use money to soothe disappointment, confuse attention with love, confuse being needed with value, confuse struggle with identity. That kind of honesty hurts, but it is also freedom because once you name the pattern, you can stop worshiping it. And I don't know if it's ESPN. I mean ESP, but I always say ESPN because that's I'm never going to just be normal. But I always was able to feel when people how people felt about me. I felt when people like at least liked, minimum liked or cared, possibly loved. Loved always felt a little bit warm. So, but and then when it would turn cold, I could feel that too. So I don't know if it's that's ESPN or if everyone feels that and they just don't pay attention to it. And it was always weird when people went cold for me, but they still came around. I mean, we know why, duh, but it was a very strange feeling. So here is the call to action. Wait, let's get the sound effect for that. This is the first and the last time I will ever turn on the overhead light. I look like a plantain. Stop waiting for society to mature before you do. Stop waiting for your family to heal before you do. Stop waiting for your friends to understand before you grow. Stop waiting for your neighborhood to change before you become disciplined. Stop waiting for your favorite group to become consistent before you practice principles. Start with your own foundation. Get educated. Use the library. Learn your rights. Check your spending. Document mistreatment. Report fraud. Seek counseling. Read contracts. 58% of Americans ain't gonna be able to do that. But anyways, 56, 58. And I just trauma has made me find find like satire in things. So it's not me making fun of per se, because I notice that can be confusing sometimes to people, but I don't know. Stop defending wrong because you like who did it. Stop turning pain into prejudice. Stop confusing loyalty with self destruction. Stop calling every boundary betrayal. Stop treating growth like arrogance. Sometimes growth looks arrogant to people who benefited from your self esteem. Sometimes peace looks fake to people addicted to chaos. Sometimes discipline looks judgmental to people who are still negotiating with their own excuses. Let them misunderstand. You are not here to stay understandable to people committed to dysfunction. You are here to become free. Free like the PPP people will be in 20 to 50 years. For immediate emotional crisis support in the US, call or text 988. The Lifeline provides free, confidential support 24/7 for mental health distress, self-harming thoughts, substance use crisis, or emotional overwhelm. For local help with food, housing, utility bills, healthcare, jobs, childcare, crisis resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. United Way describes 211 as a confidential connection point for local essential services. So if someone is asking you to borrow money for food, housing, utility bills, healthcare, because they don't have a job, help, childcare, tell them call 211 first. For mental health or substance use treatment options, SAMHSA's National Helpline, we talked about that on the previous videos, is 1-800-662-4357, which is 1-800-662-HELP. And findtreatment.gov is a confidential search tool for treatment providers. For for financial education, the FDIC's Money Smart program offers free resources to help people build practical financial skills. Let me see what that's looking like, because I can show that right now. We're gonna take a look at this together. You and I must make a pact. We must bring money smart education back. When you're in debt, I won't be there. I won't be there. And oh, there's tools to help you build your finances and credit around it. I know you're glad that I found it. See, free tax preparation for taxpayers. So y'all paying them people with their arms folded who getting y'all hemmed up with the IRS. Now I'm just scrolling because I'm not trying to break any copyright by reading in its entirety. I'm just gonna scroll. And this is in the bio as well. And this is not something that you should see and become overwhelmed with and think that you're behind because you're not aware of all of these things, because even some rich people don't know any of these things. That's why they hire accountants and CPAs. But you can keep your money in-house and you can lower the risk of someone stealing your money like some of those accountants have done to some of those rich people, especially the athletes, because they know that they are illiterate sometimes. Some of the best athletes in history are bankrupt because of accountant theft. Okay, back to that. And for free or low-cost legal help, USA.gov lists legal aid options, including lawhelp.org, legal services, corporation organizations, and law school pro bono programs. Let's go there too, because a lot of y'all will need this with the distracted driving, with all of the different violence that y'all getting involved with, letting these different content creators and celebrities have y'all warring with strange people and having physical altercations. So this is USA.gov, and this is, see, there's an official at the website, an official website of the United States government. And here's how you know. Now y'all get a free lesson today. Official websites uses .gov. A .gov website belongs to an official government organization in the United States. Secure.gov websites use HTTPS. A lock or HTTPS means you've safely connected to the website. And that means something because sometimes there are phishing scams that try to pretend to be government websites, but the website won't say .gov. So when you're getting emails and clicking links online, always check the browser tab to make sure it says that. And then when you check your email, when you get emails that say your account has been this or your password, look at the email. Even if it says a name, press the name and look at the email. A lot of the times it will not say the name of whatever it was you thought it was. That's another free lesson. I'll send y'all a bill in the mail, allegedly. Okay, for worker pay issues, the U.S. Department of, well, I'm getting this other screen ready now. Stop screen. The U.S. Department of Labor wage and hour division can be reached at 18 something. It was a number. I'm focused on the screen right now. How to file a complaint. The Wage and Hour Division is responsible for enforcing some of the nation's most comprehensive federal labor laws. And gather your information. You need your name, address and phone number, name of the company where you work or worked, location of the company. This may be different from where you work, phone number of the company, manager or owner's names, who should we ask to speak to, type of work you did, how and when you were paid. All services are free and confidential, whether you are documented or not. Please remember that your employer cannot terminate you or any other manner discriminate against you, or for filing a complaint with WHD. Granted, a lot of the companies still do find discrimination. I mean, not discrimination, retaliation when they get reported. They just they use something against the person because they know the person probably is not going to fight against them. Because see, with these companies, they've gotten over on people so long in all positions that they bet on the fact that and the most common reaction, which is to let it slide, is gonna happen. That is why every now and then when somebody do turn the burn on and put some fire under that arse, that they be shook and panicked, spooked and nervous. And for fraud, scams, and bad business practices, report to the FTC for housing discrimination concerns. HUD provides people to report promptly because deadlines may apply, i.e. statute of limitations. So yeah, it's that time again. And
like, comment, and subscribe to J New Orleans.